So you got to be thinking, can I do this painting thing? Is this for me? You know, you've heard me say it doesn't take talent, it just takes learning a system, a process. But can I really do it? Well, today is going to be a really good day for you because Lon Brauer, world famous artist, is going to teach you how to start a painting. And he's going to really bring it down to a simplified level so that anybody can grasp this. And I think this is going to be a great opportunity for you to learn how to start a painting. Now, quite frankly, there are a lot of people who have been painting for a long, long time who need to hear what he's going to say because he approaches things a lot differently, which is why his work is winning all these awards and selling out on all these shows. So please welcome Lon Brauer. There you go, buddy.
Hey, how you doing, Eric? It's good to see you again.
Nice to see you. We were together in the Adirondacks a couple of weeks ago. You attended that event. You gave me a portrait, which I'll show later. Lon, what are you going to teach us today?
Well, I think I just finished a workshop just recently, and one of the things that I realized from when I was doing that was that we talk about painting all the time and how to make good paintings with color and value and subject matter and all that sort of thing, but we don't really talk about that first initial drawing that we put down. If you watch demos, you can watch demos all day long. You can see people and they'll make this real quick sketch, and then they cover it up with paint. And what I want to talk about in the next hour is just how that drawing is really important, and we want to keep that in our heads, and how it can really add dynamics to everything you do.
Okay, but all right. So I hear a lot. I hear from people they're like, I like to draw with a paintbrush. I don't like to draw with a pencil. You know, if I have to do exact drawings, and I'm just not very good at that. But some people say, I'm okay painting with a paintbrush. What direction are you going to go today?
We're gonna be working with a paintbrush from the beginning, and it's going to be oil paint. And I'm going to talk to you about how there's a real connection between drawing and painting. We often think of those as two separate things. They're not at all. And actually, they are exactly the same thing. So I think this is going to be really helpful for people who are.
And you're doing this in oil paint, but is what you're going to teach applying to somebody who paints in acrylic?
Yeah, it'll work with any medium, or even pastel. I mean, even the dry folks, they'll be able to get some things out of this. So I think it'll be back.
the dry folks. Okay, we're going to get emails about that. Okay,
I love those guys. I love those guys just as much as you do. So.
All right, take it away.
All right. Well, we're going to switch cameras real quick, and let's get right into it.
I'll tell you what. While you're switching cameras, let's just play that opening.
That sounds like a plan.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rose.
All right, our guest today is Lon Brauer, who is still switching his camera, and I should probably show you a little bit of Lon's work. He is a fabulous landscape painter and portrait painter, and Lon tends to lean towards a little bit more free and abstract, which is very, very popular right now. And when I saw his work, what's interesting about it, when I saw him in the Adirondacks a couple of weeks ago, from across the room, these paintings are just so beautiful and so complete. And then when you get up on top of them, you get close. They're very, very abstract, which is very refreshing. And of course, everybody wants them. So you're going to learn a little bit about the pre-drawing process today. He's got his camera set up. Let's do this, Lon.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing. Can you see my hand? Yeah, good, great. That's what we want to do. I don't know if people really realize this, just as an aside, how complicated it is to have a camera set up while you're painting. I was watching Ralph yesterday, 𝗟𝗶𝘂𝗶, and we were looking at the back of his head. That's kind of how we paint usually.
Yeah, well, quit complaining and start painting.
I know. Okay, so what I want to talk about, first of all, is just in terms of, I'm going to put out, this is going to be my chalkboard to begin with. Let's just start with two things to compare to, and you'll notice I'm using I don't know, this is a flat, I think. It's a
hold it up to the camera so we can see it. Hold it closer. Yeah, closer. Yeah, okay, so it's a flat.
Anyway, it's it's just it's a 3/4 inch brush. That's all it is. So but what I want to talk about is one of the things that and if it's okay, I'm going to reference the Adirondacks. We were up there because we had 90 painters up there, And every day we would see what they did. And everything was laid out on the table. It was really fun to see. But one of the things that people run into is, you know, when you're doing a landscape, you put in a horizontal line, and then you've got trees with vertical lines. And let's just put a fourth one. You'll see this kind of thing where you get these lines very straight up and down, and very you know, and a lot of times you'll get this kind of ordered pattern. We do that as adults. Children don't do that quite so often. And we want to see the horizon. We typically want to see a horizon horizontal. And what I say is, we can do the same. We can do a landscape and give it more dynamics by putting in diagonals. And with our trees, most trees don't grow straight up and down. This is in an abstract sense, but most trees are going to have a little bit of an angle to them, because they're all, particularly if you get a lot of trees in a forest situation, they can't grow straight up. They have to go find the sunlight wherever they can find it. The same thing with, back to this one, whenever you have a strong horizontal, or you've got strong verticals, and if you have more horizontals, it tends to get very static. We can say boring, but typically it's very static. It can work and in a certain circumstances, but you kind of have to know what you're doing. For someone who's just starting out, though, you want to try to find a situation where you can find as many diagonals as possible. And surprisingly, there are a lot of diagonals in nature. This has much more, many more dynamic qualities than this does, as you can see. Before we go too much farther than that, though, let's just talk about drawing in general. With this same brush, I can make, well, let's start here. We can make a line. We can make a diagonal line. We can make a horizontal line. Or we can turn it the other way on the flat, and now we can make a thicker line, such as this. We'll run out of paint here. We can make lines this way, and we can make lines this way, and then we can make lines that go this way, this way, this way, and this way. And this is something that everyone who is just starting out should practice with. You know, we have one tool, it's a brush. And what kinds of things can you do with your brush to move that paint around and make these interesting marks? I think we talked about.
Tell everybody about how you're holding the brush.
Yeah, I was going to just get to that. Last time I was on, we talked about that, how I hold it this way as opposed to like a pencil. There are times when you will get into the final details and you want to come in and be able to have that kind of control. But for the most part, you want to hold it this way. And the reason being is you have the opportunity to move about as you put your paint on. So I can come here, and by moving my whole shoulder, I can change direction, and I can also change thickness, such as that. So you can hold the brush, you can hold it, I typically hold it in the middle, so there's a balance, but you can hold it on the end, or you can hold it up closer to the brush, and you can get different kinds of marks. Like, put a little bit of mineral spirits in there, and I can find ways to put these marks down. I'm going to show you just another brush. I got two other brushes I'm going to be using today. This one was a flat at one time, but I don't know if you can see, this one has gone, it has gone rogue, as they say, from not being cleaned. It's nice and soft, but it over time, it has the bristles had spread around. I'm going to get a different panel up here. Give me just a second. Throw that one on the ground, and we get a new one. And good, we're still there. Okay, now the different kind of brush. This one's going to make a different kind of line. It's going to make more of a sloppy line. And when we make, if I put it down, I can do this. I can get diagonals. If I want straight up and down, I get straight up and down, more or less. If I want horizontal, I can get a horizontal. And I can do this, where I can just let it slop around what we might call a mop brush. And all this mark making that I'm making right now is going to come into play here in just a minute. So put a bookmark in it right now. But I want to show you how these are the kinds of things, even though you were mentioning, Eric, that my work is more abstract, perhaps, even people who do tight work have this in their repertoire of being able to work with a brush such as this and be able to move it around and make marks within the paint that's going on the surface. Direction.
Well, the other thing is, you know, you don't have to paint with a brush entirely, right?
You don't.
I mean, I went painting one time. I forgot my brushes, and I used sticks and leaves.
Well, you've got a stick on the other end of your brush, which not really. Well, I can pull some of that out. So you can draw. Yes, you can draw with it just about anything you have, which is really kind of nice. It's you know, drawing is one of those things that is so fundamental to everything. And then, of course, you can take a palette knife and you can make marks with a palette knife. You can come down straight. It's a little bit, you got to pick up more paint. But
I think it's a great exercise that you're encouraging people to just take a canvas and start mark making and seeing what different brushes will do and what they can do with them. Also, the mark making is going to be affected by how much liquidity you have into your paint.
It is. And yes, back to your first thing is, yes, this is something you should do. You know, it's great fun. I think it's great fun. It's just doodling. And but you're learning your tools as you're doing it. I'm going to pick up, and I've got just a paper towel with some mineral spirits in it. And if anybody's watched me work before, you kind of see how I can take this and I can make lines this way. I can make lines this way. So I learn how to change direction. I can still come straight up and down. I can still go horizontal. And so understanding what you can do with each of these tools to make your drawing is going to give you versatility when you start your painting. So let's start a painting. What do you say?
Let's do it. Let's do it, baby.
Let's get this thing out.
Hey, while you're doing that, I just want to show a couple pictures if I can.
Sure.
All right. So first off, you talked about the Adirondacks. We had the event, and you talked about the paintings out. I thought I'd show that. This is the room. And so what happens is every night, we're out for a week, right? Every night, everybody lays their paintings out and their name next to their paintings. And by the end of the week, there's 1,000 or 1,200 paintings. And it's really exciting to see because you see a lot of the same places, but you see 100 different approaches to it, which is pretty cool. The other thing I wanted to show real quickly is that Lon did a portrait of me while we were at the Adirondacks, and you can't see it very well in that picture, but I thought that would be fun to show. Thank you, Lon. That's going to be photographed and appear in Fine Art Connoisseur magazine soon, hopefully.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to switch cameras real quick. It won't take but just a sec. And I do have something else I want to show you. And the easier way to do it is just to put it down flat. So I'm going to go here. And you say, well, I'm not seeing anything, Lon. Hold on. You will.
Well, we see a little something.
Let's
Okay.
see. It's reading right. It is. That's what we want.
Bring it up a little higher. There we go.
Yeah, how about that? And over just a little bit. What I did was I got a series here. I'm going to show you several of them. This image here is one I took up in the Adirondacks. And then what I wanted to do is I converted it to black and white. And then I wanted to show all the diagonals that are in that composition. And as you can see, there's a lot of trees that are kind of straight up and down, but there is a slight angle to each one. By giving a tree that is straight up and down, just a slight angle, you're going to get a much more interesting view of that tree. One that might be a little better here.
In my case, I just draw crooked anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, there you go. Similar thing. This was, I don't remember where that was, but when people ask me, Lon, what are you looking for when you look for a subject? I said, I'm looking for things that have multiple diagonals because diagonals are more dynamic than horizontals and verticals. So if I can find those in there naturally, that's a good start. So, so for anybody who's starting out, And this takes practice to kind of learn where those diagonals are. And you'll see it today when I get into the drawing, actually, there's a lot of diagonals in nature. Of course, if you have something architectural, you've got diagonals all the time, but that's a perspective thing. That's a discussion for another day. Right. Here's one more. These birch trees. And you can see that by analyzing it and looking at the diagonals, or where are all these diagonals and how much energy. That's why when you see like these diagonals that move back and forth, it's the same symbol they use for electricity. That's why they do it, because diagonals have a lot of dynamics. All right, switch cameras real quick, and let's get at this thing.
All right.
I still have time to probably paint 2 of these, but I'll just do 1.
Well, let's start with 1, and
Let's start with 1 and see where it goes. Does Amadine have? She has that image up, doesn't she?
Yes, she does.
Perfect.
She is a rock star.
She is. I've got one down there for my own benefit, but it's a little dark.
Thumbs up for Amadine.
Here's what I do. Let's get this out of the way. So what I do typically, I mix up some, I'll just kind of show you what colors I'm going to use real quick. Well, that's not, never mind. I'll just tell you when I do. I'm using some ivory black and an orange mixture, cat orange. All right. And I'm going to use that for my drawing. And I'm going to start with this one tree. And I'm going to put a little bit of angle to it. It's almost straight up and down. And then there's another one right beside it. I'm going to give it a little bit more angle. Now I could do it, I could put it in this way with the edge of the brush, or I can do it with the flat of the brush. Now this one here, there's another one on the side of this path. I'm going to put that with just a little bit of the edge of the brush. And then there's a big fat one over here on the side. And I'm going to put it with a little bit of angle to it. Maybe a little bit more angle than that. One of the things that's nice about painting landscape is we can take liberties and we can design this thing beyond better than actually what it was in real life. And then we've got some smaller trees here. And we'll just lay those in there like that. My horizon line, if there is a horizon line, probably is right about here. But since we're not on the ocean, we can't really tell. This whole area is covered with trees. What I'm going to do is key on the area where the path starts. And again, rather than go straight across, I'm going to put a little bit of an angle on it. Anytime I put an angle on it, we're going to be ahead. Then
angles are always better.
Angles are always better. All right, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to kind of see if I can sketch out this path. And what I like, rather than using curved lines, I mean, I could do it this way, but when I use straight lines, and the reason I do that is because I can see change of direction a little bit better. Now this is in a abstract, simplified form, but it will describe the path the way I want it to. Now,
Lon, I went to life drawing last night, and I was drawing a model, and I outlined the model with straight lines before I add the curved lines. It just helps so much more.
It does, because you see change of direction, and that change of direction is what, again, another dynamic that you want to build in. Now, this path is going to be coming. The path in the photo, your photo's up here, mine's down here. It actually comes to a point. I don't want it to do that because that's sort of a reverse perspective. I actually want it to go wider as it comes down. In other words, if think of railroad tracks. If you look at down a railroad tracks, they get smaller at the horizon and they're wider at where they're closer up. So I'm making that change from reality. In fact, I could take that and make it just a little bit more. And I'll leave this first line in because number one, I can't take it out. Number two, it's going to be an extra element. Now that path, when I look at it, there's a stick right here. It's going this direction. There's another stick right here. If I really look at this photograph. Oh, by the way, I'm a firm advocate of working from photographs. I know we want to go out into the field and we see more out in real life than we do in a photograph. But you can use a photograph to analyze these things and understand them better so that when you do go out, you know what you're looking at.
So I have a theory, and as you know, I'm Mr. Plein Air magazine, but
yeah,
I think really that somebody should learn to paint in the studio before they go outside.
I agree.
Learn to paint, learn to mix your colors, paint from photographs, learn all about it. And because you don't know the difference, if you haven't painted from photographs, you don't see the difference once you go outdoors. So
Right.
I think it's a really good idea, because then you can really, it'll help you learn better.
Ultimately, you want to find a balance between painting from life and painting from photo reference, and each will inform the other in those areas that you can't figure out what it is that you're doing. But you know, the winter time for us anyway, or for me, I don't paint in the snow. I spend a lot of time in studio and try to figure out all the things I don't know. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see what other things we have here that have diagonals. There is a on mine, there's a little area here where there is a tree branch that comes down, and this doesn't have to be exact.
Kind of looks like a horse to me.
It doesn't matter what it looks like. And then there's another branch that comes up in this direction.
Put an eyeball and a mouth on it, please.
We're not going to do that. I know by now why you struggle with paintings. Can't stay focused. Anyway, there are these diagonals that are running in from the side on each side, and these are running in here. And I'm going to show you something here as soon as I get these in, or point out something that I picked up a little bit of white. I wish I hadn't done that, but that's all right. And then down here in this area, there are these diagonals which are running down here. There's a few things. There's one that kind of runs a counter across here, and there's one that runs up in here. If you notice, what's happening is everything is pointing more or less to this point, this area right here, which is my center of interest. You know, where these trees come together down here, there's going to be a highlight right here, and then they hit this, they hit the path in this dark area here. So that's why what these diagonals are all about. You want to find things that are going to, they're just almost like arrows that are pointing in, and that takes your eye into the composition. This is basically what they call a one-point perspective, which is, again, another discussion for another day. But that's what all these diagonals are for. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this off real quick, and we're going to throw another one on. We're going to do another real quick.
All right. See, anybody can do that. Anybody can do that.
Anybody can do it. Now, where's my other panel? Here it is.
Our guest today is Lon Brauer. We're learning how to start a painting that anybody can do. Hello, Ireland. Welcome.
When you watch demonstrations by artists, you often will see, I'm going to move that up just a hair. You often see them do a quick sketch, and then they start putting paint right on top of it. And you think, well, I guess that, you know, for a beginner, they see that and they think, well, maybe that sketch is really not that important. And the point of this whole talk is that it is hugely important. And those of us who paint all the time, even though we cover that drawing up, we still see it. We see it because we've seen it so many times. And I'll show you in just a bit how I redraw and reestablish. I'm going to do this one a little quicker so we don't run completely out of time.
So I have a really big question that is burning right now.
Okay.
And the question, Lon, is you've got all that greenery in the background, which is just going to get mushed together anyway. If you were starting a painting, would you get that background in before you started laying these verticals in, or would you do it this way?
Yeah, I would do it this way because I want to see, again, I want to see where the lines are first. Then you'll see here in a minute how I honestly, I can't tell you how I do it. I just do it. knowing that, that's my train of thought. No,
You're talking
if you put
about
all that green down, what's going to happen is if you put all that green down, which is, this thing is basically all green, and if you put all that down, you're going to have a whole bunch of paint you're going to have to deal with. And I don't want to put that in until I'm ready for it. And I'd rather have the structure. It's a little bit like drawing a skeleton and then putting a figure on top of it, or building a house and putting in the foundation first. You have to have that foundation to make it so that you know that you've got, you've heard the term, it has good bones. We all have these paintings that we start, we go, it's got good bones. It goes sour later, but maybe it's got good bones. What we mean by that is it has the dynamics and it has the composition that's going to work, should work, unless we just mess it up somehow, some other way.
So you're designing a painting.
I am designing a painting, exactly. And again, another thing to kind of think about is I'm not painting these trees. I mean, this will be a painting of trees, but that's not what this is about. It's more about the dynamics of this drawing that I'm creating. And I want to make these shapes interesting. And I remember I said there was a stick here and there's a stick here, and there's going to be kind of I can do this kind of thing, which is going to see how that becomes a path. It's going to help drive us this way, even though these are horizontals. And there is actually a branch here. That's probably premature. I just want to put it in there. We'll put that one in, and there's probably another one in here. So the branches on a tree could actually be your diagonals as well. Okay, so that's a good start, I think. And like I said, someone who's been doing this a long time would probably not put in all these lines because we know where we see them. And unfortunately, we who teach often forget that those who don't know anything, and you're very, very new to this whole painting thing, don't see what we see. So what I'm trying to do here is to connect with those who are just starting and say, you need to do this. And if you get this much done, and I would say set this aside and get another panel and do it again and do it again and do it again. I'm a firm believer in repetition. Before you start putting paint on, understand what this is doing, this drawing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've got 1, 2, 3 greens essentially that I'm going to be working with. Let me just show these to you real quick here. This one, which is a dark, put a little white in there just so you kind of see it. This is Indian yellow and ivory black. I like that color a lot. It's nice warm green. And then I have a sap green. That's right out of the tube. I'm using that. It's a little warmer. Then I have a sap green and a cad yellow. What I want to do, and I'm not going to show you my palette, but just assume I have these big piles of paint. That is sap green and cad yellow, and you can see that's yellower than this. It's going to give me a different variation. And then I'm going to take that same green, that sap green and cad yellow, and I'm going to add some white to it. We're going to get.
So how do you, when you add white to it, something like that, how do you keep it from looking too chalky?
It's primarily because all I did was just put just enough white in it to lighten it up. Not so much that it's going to the white side. So this color, even though it's got white in it, it's still pretty primarily this sap green and cad yellow. So I can lighten it up pretty far before it really starts getting dusty, if you will. Another green that I can use, I've got Viridian. I use 2 greens, sap green and Viridian. There's Viridian straight out of the tube. So I can add white to that. If I want a cool, real cool green, I might be able to use that. There's a range of greens. It's going to give me some different values as well as different colors that are going to give this thing some energy. One thing I saw up in the Adirondacks is you were loaded with green up there. It's green everywhere. And certain times of day, all the greens are the same. The trick for us as painters is to introduce a variety of green, at least 3. 4 is better, and sometimes I think I like 5. I think anything more than that, then it becomes a patchwork quilt. We don't want that. All right, so I'm going to go to this brush. Remember this
Crazy brush.
sloppy brush, what I call it. Yeah, we're going to start with that. And I'm going to work with this color, which is the black and the black and Indian yellow, because it's very warm and I can get a nice dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm looking for, I'm just going to go right over the top of this. I'm going to look for wherever the dark areas are. And what I'm doing is, I need to slow this down. I was doing this yesterday because I wanted to see how this would go. When I put this in, I'm going to lay it in like this. Then I'm coming back and moving it like this. And then I'm going to come down and stay with these lines that I established and just sort of move them around.
And you have thinned your paint?
I am thinning it with mineral spirits. I like mineral spirits. I know we had a discussion. There have been discussions about mineral spirits. I don't use a lot, but I like how it will thin the paint. And you see how as I'm putting this down, I'm still always thinking about my direction of movement. What's fun about this is this mop brush. I can just lay that in. Now I'm not putting it everywhere, just kind of where the darks are. Now I'm going to mix up a lighter green. I think that one that was right there, I think I'm going to put that in. So now I want to establish my lights. Where are they? Well, let's put one in here. Now, you will see what happens with this brush particularly, when I lay it down, I can lay it on top. You see the directional lines that come on here? It really works with I think these are mostly hemlock trees. And it's going to mix in with that stuff, that dark stuff underneath. That's okay. I'm all right with that. And we're going to have some over here. Again, thinking in terms of direction. This one here, this direction here. And some of it, I don't have to be married to the image that is on the photo image. It's just a guide. And this one, there's this big chunk here that is coming down. It's cascading. Sometimes it helps to go out there and just really look at the trees. Don't necessarily just paint them. Look at them and see what they do. We think we know things until we really look at them. Sometimes we don't really understand what's involved. Now, not just, again, when you watch demos, you'll see artists, sometimes they'll block in the color, and it looks like they're just doing it willy-nilly. And I suppose in some cases they probably are. But when I'm doing this, what I'm thinking about is I'm not trying to paint those tree boughs, but I am interested in keeping in mind what direction things are flowing. In an ideal world, we do this, and then we do another one, and we do another one, but we'll just do it once today. And I'm going to go ahead and lay in some color between these two trees. There's this idea, this concept of don't paint the trees, paint everything that's not the trees, and the trees will appear. I'm going to paint between the trees. Now what I have to do is come back in and redraw the trees. I'm going to mix in, actually, the trees themselves. I'm mixing cad red and black. And somebody's out there is going to say, well, why in the world are you using black? I'm using black because I've been doing the Zorn palette. Again, another discussion for another day. But if you mix black with red, it makes a really nice brown, I think. So I can go ahead and just re-establish this tree here. And I want this one to be a little bit more of this angle. So when I redraw it, I can look at that drawing again and make adjustments. And they don't have to be exactly right. Just lay them in there and kind of lay them in and forget them, actually. We'll come back. We don't have to agonize over each one of these trees. Just lay them in. And then because this one's kind of straight up and down, I'm going to put another one over here. It's not in the photograph, but I'm going to just go ahead and put one in there anyway. Now let's lay in this this path. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to use 𝗂𝗏 orange. The trees are 𝗂𝗏 red and black. I'm going to use 𝗂𝗏 orange and black this time. It's going to be the same thing. 𝗂𝗏 orange is just a little bit more yellow than 𝗂𝗏 red, so it's going to be a little bit more yellow. But when I take that, doing this off camera, and you're thinking, well, what in the world is he doing? I'm going to get my big brush again, my big sloppy brush, which has got a lot of green in it. Try to get some of that out. I won't get it all out, and that's okay. What I'm going to do is, that's not the color I wanted. I want a little bit more orange than that, I think. What I'm going to do is just lay that in like that, and I want it to gradate to darker as I go back. So we're going to go ahead and lay some of that in. Picked up some that red and black makes almost a purple.
Why darker when you go back versus lighter?
Well, number one, in the photograph, it's darker back there because it's in shadow. But anytime you have a gradation, it's just going to be more interesting when there's a gradation. And in this particular case, because the path is coming out into the sunlight, it's going to be lighter down towards the front. And I can make it lighter yet, I think, by doing my piles of paint are getting kind of mixed here. But one thing, I don't know if you can tell me if you can see this or not. I'm putting this in at this direction, and then as I go back, I'm changing direction slightly.
Yeah, we could say.
Yeah, okay. That's the concept. I'm not sure that's exactly the best way to handle it, but put it down and rather than make these all straight horizontals, which we could do, like again, like railroad tracks with railroad ties on a railroad track. We don't want to do that. We want to have direction, and they can change direction this way. They can actually go like this, which gives almost a stepstone kind of which leads us to the back here. Okay, then need some stuff up in here. So let's just take up some. I'm going to pick up some whatever green I happen to have with a little bit of mineral spirits. Let's just lay that in. Just kind of fill out some of those areas that still have a little bit of white on it. So at this point, I would continue, if it were me, I would just continue painting, but no, I wouldn't actually. Most people would. But what I would do is I would redraw this again. And so the pattern that I'm trying to show you is that you draw it, then you paint on it, and then you draw, and then you paint on it, and then you draw. So I'm going to come in, but I'm going to use something that's a little bit counterintuitive. This is Viridian and white. I'm going to use this just so I can see it. I'm going to redraw that. Now that I've got that tree kind of established, I can see the edges of it. And remember we had this. Oh, here, let me tell you what this brush is. I think this is a rigger brush. I'm not sure. I looked it up today. It's either a rigger or a very small or a very thin 𝗟𝗏𝘂𝗏. I'm not sure. Either one would work. But it's great for line work. And I can come in, and again, holding the brush like this, and I can twirl it in my finger and thumb, and I can change direction as I come down and put new lines in. So I can do this and do this. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm not even looking at the painting. I'm just really I get enthralled with all these interesting lines that I can make with a brush. I guess it is kind of like abstract painting in a way. I come back in and I can reestablish that path, and I don't have to go exactly in the same place. I can say, you know what, I didn't really like it that direction. I didn't like it. I wanted a little wider here or a little thinner there. Lay that in, and remember this piece here. There's this nice little chunk of tree that's coming down, or it's foliage that's coming down here. You see how I'm kind of just letting the brush drag and draw in here. Do that. And you're saying, oh, well, I had a whole bunch of good stuff on there. What, now you're covering it up. That may be true. There's going to be even better stuff comes. We have to be willing to destroy that wonderful little mark that we made that we think is just the most fabulous mark we have ever made in our lives. If you did it once, you can do it again. And then there's one color that comes in here like so. And I don't know, maybe another one here. So we still have this kind of thrust going on. So now I have the drawing back in. So next, some more juice. Now I essentially have a little bit of almost a coloring book kind of situation. If I have that, then now I'm golden. Let's mix up just some. This is cad yellow and white, and I'm just going to kind of fill in this area. Again, though, I want to keep in mind this directional thrust as this thing is fanning down. There's a little bit of here, maybe a little here. And what's going to happen here, I know, as I'm doing this, some of these colors are starting to mud up. When it happens, when it gets like that, you can come in and do the next trick I'm going to show you.
I thought there were no tricks.
There are tricks all over this. That's all painting is, Eric, is just tricks.
Oh, everybody's always giving me a grief because I say, you can learn the secrets or tricks to this or that.
Oh, I've done it myself. You just didn't know it. But yeah, there are tricks. I mean, there are methods. Let's call them methods. And that way we can all agree that that's maybe a better word.
Well, there's secrets. If you don't know them, they're secrets. And then once they're revealed, they're no longer secrets to you, but they're secrets.
Okay, I'm glad we got that worked out. All right, now what you can do is, one of the things that I do a lot. This is just a palette knife. If you get too much paint on, just always take it off. And your painting does not go away. People will say, oh, how'd you do today? And they'll say, oh, I don't know, I had a scraper. Well, what's a scraper? Well, it means you worked for a few hours and you scraped it away. And you started, you just quit. I find scraping one of the best things you can do, because as you're scraping, you're drawing. You're creating more marks, more lines, more diagonals. I got my glasses on. That's giving me problems. It's funny. I need to have my glasses on to drive and to read and to look on the computer. But when I paint, I really don't need them. All right, now what I'm going to do is I need some white. Oh, that isn't it. Here it is.
What surface are you painting on?
This is just a canvas panel I got right offline. It's nothing special. It's cheap. I like cheap panels for doing this kind of thing. For practice, you don't need to spend a great deal of money for panels. Get something you can paint on cardboard, if you really want to. Because, most of what we do is practice. Practice for what? I guess for the next painting, whatever the next painting is.
Okay.
All right, so now watch what I do. Now I can lay in, now that I've scraped that back, now I can lay in some more pure paint. What are we doing on time, Eric? You doing all right?
Yeah, you got about 10 minutes.
Oh, goodness, that's perfect. That's gobs of time. So one thing that I wanted to bring out too, we think of drawing as making a line. Let's see, I'm gonna pick up something dark here. Just a dark, we gotta put somewhere where you can see it. Let's put it right here. We think of that as drawing, and we think of this as painting. It's all the same thing. It's the same tool. We're just making a long mark or making short marks. Whenever all this painting is really just drawing. It's just some lines are thin, some lines are fat. That's why when you get this kind of stuff going on, That's telling me a whole lot of information. It's not telling me it's not telling me the anatomy of a branch on a hemlock tree, but it's telling me direction of how this thing is growing, and also maybe direction of how the light is hitting it. And that's kind of what we want to have happen, because if you really want to know how a hemlock tree looks in reality, get yourself an encyclopedia. That's not what painting is about. Painting is to be interesting. What we're going to do is, we've got right back here in this tree, behind these trees, I'm going to put some highlights just to pick that up, so that gives us some light back behind those trees. Then I'm going to pick up, this is just, okay, this is going to be, this is just sap green straight out of the can, out of the tube. It's sap green's a little bit of a transparent color.
Yeah.
So when you put it down, it's a little bit like some of the yellows. It's not going to cover very well. So you can use that to your advantage. If you want a little more opacity, just add a little bit of white to it. It's not going to change the color a great deal. It's just going to lighten it up, but it'll give you some opacity. See, that's got a little bit of white in it. So I can put that down, and it'll have a little bit more purchase. I'm going to mix up, clean that brush out. Hold on a second here. Oh, okay, we've got some Indian yellow and some black. Go back to that. That's my kind of my go-to dark these days. That may change. This whole corner is really dark, so I'm going to go ahead and put that back in. That's going to give us a little bit of contrast. But you see how throughout the whole thing, I am maintaining this directional. As we get down here, it's going to fan out from the corners. This one's going to go this way, so I can put these in this way, and sometimes I will, just to vary the marks. But for the most part, the main thrust is playing off these diagonals. Now there's some up in this area here. There is some diagonal branches. Well, I can actually come back in with this.
Bernard asked the question, Lon, why don't you tone your canvases?
Why don't I what?
Why don't you tone your canvases?
Because I find that if I leave the white, and then when I put the paint on, I can get a little bit more vibrancy. It just seems like it to me. And I like having these little areas of white. And this is just a personal preference. Oftentimes I'll have the corners, I'll leave the corners with some white area. Not to be contrived, but it reminds me a little bit of sketchbook pages. I've done some toning, and if I do, it's going to be a very subtle tone. But once you tone it, and if it's not completely dry, it is going to mix in with the paints. And you can look at this and say, well, what difference is that going to make? And it's not. It's just personal preference, I guess. Everybody does it different. Sometimes I'll put, like, this has got a lot of green in it. I might even use an orange underneath, because if any of that orange shows through, it's going to have some really interesting things happen. Now here I can come in and draw in. This is a little willy-nilly, but
willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly. That's what painting's all about, is willy-nilliness. And here we've got these trees. We need to have these in here, I think. You don't have to draw the line all the way through. It's going to be broken, so just put it in there. But keep in mind, don't make these all vertical, and don't make them all parallel, and don't make them all the same distance apart.
That painting has a lot of energy. That's
the point. That's the point. What do we want? When we make a painting, we want people to look at it and go, hey, I've never seen that before. Now they may say, is it good or bad? That's a different discussion, but at least you want to look at it and say, that is really kind of interesting. Okay, you're gonna get a special deal today. One of my favorite tools is a serrated steak knife. I don't know if you can see that anywhere.
Yeah, hold it up to the camera.
Let's see if I can get it closer.
Oh my goodness, a steak knife.
Just a steak knife. I got this at Goodwill. So, but I use this as a drawing tool, because I can come in once I get some paint down, and I can use
kind of like fingers on a chalkboard.
A little bit. The canvas helps with that. But what you can see, this takes a little bit to learn. You can find other tools that will do a similar thing. I've just always used the steak knife, but again, it's a drawing tool. If you had grass, which we really don't have grass in here, again, you can use it to a little bit of grass here. Anything that you can use to scratch. Once you have paint on the surface, you can come in and move things around. You can do the same thing in this path. So
Probably can't carry that on an airplane.
no, you probably can't. You have to get that. When you get to Paris, go find a steak knife store.
But let's go to Paris and paint. That sounds like fun.
Let's do it. But the point of this is, it's like everything else. Everything is linear, and even though we think of paint as being a mass of material that we put down flat, let's say we had let's just take this brush, which is, I think, clean. I can come in here, and we think about painting kind of like we do when we paint our bathroom. We're painting the wall. Even painting your bathroom, you're making one line on top of another line. So see, that pretty much negated that. So I'm going to come back and reestablish the marks on there, and then I'm going to take this big brush, which I really like, and I can come back in and reestablish that, and put up here, and maybe one here. Then you find, again, hold and brush like this, you finesse it. Again, is this a good painting or not? I don't know. I'll have to look at it later.
𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗵 says, I'm getting a steak knife.
Yeah. Bought a whole bunch of them recently at a thrift store. And I didn't like them. I kept going. I went back to the one I liked.
You wear them down?
It does wear down. I've had this one for about 4 years, and it's about worn down. I thought, well, I need to get a new one. But you know what? Get a new tool. It's like a new hammer. You got to learn how to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you go back to the old one. So, and I can throw in, okay, I'm going to pick up just some red and some orange. We're just going to put that in there, and that's going to make that pop. That's all I got, Eric.
Oh, man, that's a lot. Well, come back on camera, Lon.
I'll see what I can do here. Hold on. I got to put my glasses on so I can see my computer. Well, it's tough getting old. So we go here.
Stop that getting old stuff.
Well,
State of mind. Get over it.
There we go. I'm going to get rid of that. Let's see. Here we go. Sweet. There we are.
Yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts for people?
Practice your drawing, but it doesn't have to be complicated. And when you put down a drawing to start a painting, don't forget it. Don't just cover it up and forget it. You need to come back and reestablish that drawing. Keep that foundation strong. And if the foundation's strong, the painting will be strong.
Awesome.
Okay.
Hey, I want to tell everybody that we've got this incredible video that Lon Brauer did with us. It's the first of many to come, but this one is abstract figure painting. And it is wonderful. If you really like to do figure painting or portrait painting, Lon is incredible at this. And it's a great one. You can get it at painttube.tv, which is our giant resource, 700 plus full-length professionally produced art instruction courses. All right, Lon.
That video, I know it says figure, but it talks about a lot of these very, very issues. So I think it'll be exciting for everybody. So,
yeah. Anything else you want to say about that?
No, that's enough.
You sure?
Buy it. Go get it. Because it is required. I'll tell you what, when that thing came out, I watched it and I learned stuff and I was there. So
oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I don't know. Once I produce a video, I can't watch it. It's like I can't stand the sound of my own voice.
Yeah. Well, but we learn from others and we learn from ourselves sometimes. So.
All right. Well, Lon, thank you again. I want to show everybody again the portrait that you did. If Ahmadine will bring that up real quickly. He did a portrait of me. I told him I'd put his portrait of me in my collection of portraits with all the greats. And There's going to be a museum show of those, and also it goes in the magazine Fine Art Connoisseur. So thank you for doing that, Lon. That's
My
wonderful.
pleasure. That was
I
fun.
wish I had a close up of it. I have it here somewhere.
I was so tired that day I did that. I was so tired of painting trees. I thought, well, I'll just paint something else. And you were
Yeah.
there. So
And I was wearing green, so you
you
were like,
were
"Oh
wearing
no,
green.
not more green."
Green and red. Yeah, you were very, very Adirondacky that day. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's my mountain man look.
you bet.
All right. Well, thank you, Lon.
Okay. My pleasure. Take care, bud.
All right. See ya. I hope you guys found this helpful today. Our guest was Lon Brauer, and he is a rock star. Hey, a couple things for you before you go. First off, well, if you want to learn to paint, if you're new to this, you can do it. We believe anybody can learn to paint. And one of the things that will encourage you is this show has hundreds of back episodes on YouTube. If you go to our YouTube channel, it's Art School Live. Just go to YouTube and find Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. If you go there, there are literally hundreds of shows that we've done since we started with COVID. And just pick any five, and watch, and you will gain the confidence that you can learn how to paint. And you will learn how to paint. You watch these things, they're free. Now, we have a lot more in-depth stuff. We have these art instruction videos at PaintTube where we have over 700 from the world's leading masters. We have Lon Brauer. We just launched a brand new 𝗟𝗶𝘁𝗵. We have 𝗟𝗶𝘁𝗵𝗵. We have some of the greats. And these are professionally produced, really high definition quality, and you can really get into them. You can watch them on your big screen TV. And of course, they're on streaming or video, and we have our own app for that. So that's at painttube.tv. Also, anyway, pick five. We have a couple of events coming up, and these are just really spectacular. And I know I'm blowing my own horn. I apologize for that. But we have one called Pastel Live coming up in September. We moved it out of August so that you could attend it, because a lot of moms were like, hey, my kids are in school. Can you wait till after the kids are back? We have some of the world's leading pastel artists teaching. That's coming up in September. Then we have coming up in November, we have coming up Realism Live. Some really incredible painters. Realism is really anything that's realistic. And so there's all forms of realism in there, and pretty much any subject you can imagine. So if you're going to attend realism, because it'll teach you a lot of different subjects in one particular place. We have watercolor coming up in January. And then we have a brand new one coming up, Acrylic Live, which we're very excited about. We don't have the faculty announced yet, but it's going to be awesome. We always do. We have someone very, very big, very important, who is going to tell you why they are switching. I said they because I don't want to say if it's a he or a she, why they are switching to acrylic. And that's going to be really interesting. It's going to be earth shattering, as a matter of fact. So that's coming up. So anyway, we also have a free video for you. It's called 97 Tips. And this free video is 97 art secrets. We have some of the videos that we produce. We've taken snippets of them and put them on a free video. It's worth a couple $100. It's really educational. If you don't have it, you would like it. And you can get DVD if you want to pay the shipping, or you can get it for free online. Just go to 97artsecrets.com/free. That's all I got for today. Like Lon Brauer said, that's all I got. Very matter of fact. He was terrific, wasn't he? I think you now realize you don't have to master the art of drawing in the way that you thought maybe you have to. I mean, if you can just get some of those angled lines in there, get some of that indication, and you can do that. Anybody can do that. You can do that with any medium. And so that's a really terrific lesson. So thanks again to Lon Brauer. We will see you. We're here every weekday at 12 noon. And just check us out on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. It helps us. And when it helps us, it helps you, because that allows us to keep going, get more subscribers and more viewers. So that is always helpful for you and for us. So thanks for that. Take care. Have a terrific day. I'm Eric Rhodes, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur, Plein Air Magazine, and about 3,000 other things. Take care. Bye-bye.